I'm David Heitler-Clevens.
And I'm Rodney Wittenberg. And this is Music for the New Revolution.
You will not be able... Say it loud! Say it loud! Police and thieves in the street. Oh yes, scaring the nation with their guns and ammunition. When I'm running, police on my back. I've been hiding, police on my back. Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
So you guys can guess we're doing another episode of on race, and this one is the Black Lives Matter episode.
Yes, and obviously there's been huge things going on in the country and even in the world. George Floyd's murder, and in the midst of many other murders, and huge protests and changes and things. And it always is like, I think there's sort of two things often with these. Sometimes it feels like there's so much killing of unarmed black people. And then other times it feels like people are saying this has always been going on, but we're paying attention to it more now. And both those seem true at the same time. You know what I mean? Like that it's always been going on, but that there's also an epidemic of it right now.
Yeah. Well, there's been an epidemic of police using excessive force since the 1960s. And it seems to be directed at people of color and poor people.
Mm-hmm.
It is often amazing to me to see, and when I say see, I get to see it because I live in a suburban community, how different the police treat the people when they stop them or pull them over around here.
Yeah.
I was relating an anecdotal story to someone recently. I heard some noise late at night, and I woke up and there was a car parked at the corner where my house is, and it was blaring. I mean, when I say blaring, very loudly, a talk show at 3:00 in the morning. And looked out the window, and the car just sat there, and it was sitting there for a good 20 minutes. And I finally decided to call the police. And when the police came, long story short, there was a guy sitting in his car. He got to that corner, stopped, and just never moved. He was so drunk or intoxicated. He was probably a middle-aged white guy, probably about our age, and the police politely moved him from the car, and didn't look like they arrested him, although I couldn't tell completely from the window. They did not put handcuffs on him. They did sit him down, and they put him in the car unhandcuffed and took him somewhere. So that is not how I've been treated when I've been pulled over. Not in my neighborhood, I should say, but when I'm pulled over, and I'm extremely aware and cautious, I am always respectful, but I have been met with tension and disdain, and it would have been very easy for the situation to escalate if I had not been yes sir,
Yeah.
no sir,
Yeah.
Here's my license, sir. So
Well, and you and I were talking even before this really blew up recently about the disproportionate police response to for instance, these heavily armed white people who were protesting the
Yes.
quarantine in Michigan and Pennsylvania, other places, they were totally allowed to do their thing, and they were actually threatening. They were actually had these huge weapons, and then unarmed black people or people of color are treated entirely differently when they do nothing and nothing threatening, or it's very obvious, the disproportionate response.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were talking about noticing things in the neighborhood. I mean, for years, I've always thought every time I see somebody pulled over and there's 2 or 3 police cars for one stop, I'm like, oh, I'm sure I know what color the person is that they have stopped. Not going to be a white person,
Yeah. And then you look and you're like, aha,
Yeah.
I was correct.
I have never been wrong with that one.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting. I will point out that it is interesting because the statistics actually show, I believe, actually I was having a conversation with someone today who told me this. I have not looked it up, so maybe I shouldn't say it on the air. But they were saying that actually there are more white people killed by police than black people. But I think the difference it leads to the thing that I always talk about, in that in white communities, they are treated and see themselves differently, so they don't report it the same way. It's not communicated the same way, and it's fascinating and amazing to me how this really is about poor people, but white poor people do not see themselves the same as black poor people.
well, I think the other part of that is, because I have looked up those statistics in an argument, I don't have them at my fingertips, but literally there are more white people who are killed by police, but proportional to the population, black people are many, many times more likely to be
Yes.
killed by police than white people. So it's not, it doesn't make any sense really to compare the raw numbers. You have to look at the percentage of the population, and then it's really clear how disproportionate,
How disproportionate it is. Well, and it clearly is disproportionate.
Yeah.
And it also feels like a war on poor people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like plenty of rich people commit atrocious crimes and they don't get, no one shoots them in the back.
Right. But I do think that, the reason that this is a Black Lives Matter issue as opposed to a, Poor
People matters issue
is that there are ways in which color trumps everything, and I think some of the stories that really make that clear are when, like, Oprah Winfrey is followed around a store because they think she's going to shoplift, and clearly that's not about class, that's entirely about race. And so I think these things sometimes in one case one thing is primary and in another case another thing's primary, but so I agree with you. Sometimes it is about class, but sometimes it clearly is about race above all.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of things to play for you today, so we're going to actually try to keep our conversation. It's very difficult for Rodney and me to keep our conversation to a minimum, but we have some great music and we have a lot of interviews. Usually in our episodes we have like one interview that we'll feature. This time we're actually going to feature 3 excerpts from interviews. But before we get to hearing from our first person that we interviewed, which was Chris Matthews, we have a kind of a good overall anthem for the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter, No Justice, No Peace, from Sounds of Blackness.
Priceless and precious, important and essential, irreplaceable and extraordinary. Black Lives Matter. Sing it loud.
here's our interview with Chris Matthews, and not that Chris Matthews.
No, this Chris spells her name Crys, and she's a wonderful singer, songwriter, performer, musician, and human being. And we had the opportunity to interview her via Zoom, and we're going to feature a little excerpt where she talks about her very new song called How Many More.
Yes. So how did that come about, and what was your process in putting that together?
So I do this side project called the Don't Forget My Name project, which the song that I mentioned earlier about Trayvon Martin, which has the name Don't Forget My Name. And after it was like the week or 2 weeks where back to back, it was like Philando Castile and Alton Sterling, just like right there together, kind of like what we were experiencing now with like Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and then also George Floyd, like in such quick succession. And the week that happened was just so hard on me. I was just like, I don't understand how people don't see what's happening, don't recognize this injustice for what it is, and feel the need to have conversations that begin with all lives matter. I don't even understand what's happening right now. And I have a lot of, because of the type of music that I sing, because I am much more in the folk lane than some other people who look like me. The majority of my audiences are always white, always. And so to know that is who is hearing me on a regular basis, and to then wonder if they are also those people who think that all lives matter is the way to have a conversation with me when I'm talking about Black Lives Matter, I was like, I have to figure out how to do something, because it just seems like these are really good people. Everyone that I've ever met has seemed like a good human. And so I don't want them to disappoint me and be not be a good human after all, So I'm like, what can I do? And so I started digging through the incredible archive that The Guardian has put together of people, period, who have been killed by police. They have this very comprehensive archive that they handle called The Counted. And so I went through that painstakingly, finding every name of every Black person who was killed by police, which that time it went through like 2016. And all of those people who were unarmed. So I made this shirt, which I'm actually wearing that shirt in the video for How Many More. It's actually the name of all of the names that I could fit onto a shirt and have them still be legible, of people who were killed by police, and the names in bold are people who are unarmed when they were killed. And so there's a speaking point that goes with that graphic to help people. Like, I basically was like, okay, I'm going to just use this as a tool for when people say all lives matter. I want them to physically come face to face with that image, and then try to have that same conversation with me and figure out how in the world they can still say that. And it's been helpful. A lot of folks have been wearing those shirts since 2016 and using those postcards since 2016 and having those tough conversations. And so after that quick back to back that I was just talking about with Breonna and Ahmaud and also George Floyd, it felt like another moment like that, where it was just too much to ask us to shoulder, and to still have people then counter us with things like all lives matter, because it's just not the same. People say, oh, there are way more white people who get killed by cops than there are Black people who get killed by cops. But it's like the thing that everybody seems to, well, not everybody, but the people who make that argument that they seem to always lose sight of is that we don't make up that much of the population. So like percentage wise, you have to look at it apples to apples. Percentage wise, we're killed at like something crazy, like a 23 higher percent rate or something like that. It's insane because we make up such a small percent of the population. And so to then be like, well, it's just not the same. Like white people are killed too. Like, of course, that's not the conversation. And it's also important to note that a lot of those people who were in situations where they were armed are met with a significant more amount of force than people who are, for example, like Dylan Roof, who literally walked into a church and killed 9 unarmed, innocent churchgoers and got comfortably escorted out of that church. Mm-hmm. People like Laquan McDonald, who were carrying a knife, got met with just an army of gunfire. Other people who were literally just holding a gun and asleep in their car were met with an army of gunfire. It's just not the same. In no context is it the same. Even when we are doing something that is violent, our violence is met with way more violence than other people who don't look like us and who are being violent. When we are unarmed, we are considered so much more of a threat that we have to be killed immediately, as opposed to people who are walking through the streets in protest with assault rifles, who are comfortably standing beside law enforcement officers and for whatever reason not deemed as a threat, even though when I see them on television, I'm terrified. So what is that disconnect?
Yeah.
So for me, the song was kind of about that. So I went through the names from the Don't Forget My Name project. And because that project was a couple of years old, and because we are America and there have been so many more police killings since then, I went through and just tried to lovingly weave those stories together in a way with a melody that people could hear, and with a chorus that I hoped would help them hear what they missed by the fact that there are over 70 names in that song. And so that's how the song came to be. It's been encouraging to see how many people have shared and listened and responded positively to it, and who have gotten it. I tried to be very intentional with the video description for the song and the purpose of it, and with pointing out the fact that the youngest person in the song was 7 years old. A 7-year-old child should not be killed in her home asleep by the police, Ayanna Stanley Jones. And the oldest person in the song is 93 years old, Pearlie Golden, Miss Pearlie Golden. This is somebody's grandmother, killed senselessly by the police. And, you know, the thing with Breonna Taylor is just like, they weren't even at the right house. Like, that woman, that beautiful 27-year-old woman, who, by the way, was a first responder. This is another thing when we're talking about the disconnect between how Black people are viewed. So many people right now, amidst the COVID, have so much to say about how much they love and respect frontline workers and how much they want to celebrate those people working on the front lines. This woman was a frontline worker. She was an EMT in her home doing nothing but sleeping. The police weren't at the right house. And so, like any normal human who senses a threat and has some kind of weapon there to defend themselves, her boyfriend tried to defend himself and his home and his girlfriend, and she was killed. They weren't even at the right house. And it's just so hard. It's so hard to have those stories be just told again and again and again. And it's like, how many times do we have to tell you? We are not viewed the same way. We are not treated the same way. And so that's the point of the song. I hope that more people listen to it. I hope that more people take the time to actually read the description. I hope that more people finish that song and ask themselves, how many of those names did they know? How many of those stories did they know? And the ones that they don't, I hope they take the time to go find out who they are. And I hope it makes a difference. I hope it touches somebody, even if it changes one heart. I hope it does something.
Well, I think it's a very powerful and effective song. So I think if a song can get through to people who need to still be convinced, I think that is one of the songs that could do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you
mean,
both.
the combination of all those names, that just, that litany of names really is overwhelming, when you just put that all together. And then the chorus, I think, expresses the outrage that's so appropriate, that, how long does this have to go on? How many more lives have to be lost? It's just it's relatively simple, as a concept, but it really works, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for writing the song, and we'll be able to share it and get more people to hear it as we broadcast it on our show.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Rodney.
cool.
Ayana and Darnisha, Tamir, Taisha and Trayvon, Michael Brown and Jordan Davis, William Chapman and Laquan, Keith McLeod and Tyree Crawford, Jordan Edwards and Devon, Antoine Rose and Victor Steen, Jeremy Lake and Patterson Brown. How many times must my people ask why? How many times must we watch another mother cry? And if we were you and what you've done be enough, would our reactions be as hard on you as yours are on us? How many more marches will it take? How many more days like this until we break? And if you were us, how much more could you bear? How many I can't breathe before you care? Oscar Grant and Eric Garner, Yvette Smith and Shelley Frey, Eric Harris and John Crawford, George Floyd and Freddie Gray, Chantel Davis and Tarika, Breonna Taylor and Kendra James, Ramarley Graham and Danny Brumfeld, Terrence Crutcher, DeRavis and Dontre, Amadou Diallo, Sam DeBose and Botham Jean, Jordan Baker and Alton Sterling, Lavon, Shem and Stefan, Tatiana and Rakia, Jonathan Farrell and Ricky Ball, Janisha Fonville, Maya Hall, Akai Gurley, Belando Ahmad. How many times must my people ask why? How many times must we watch another mother cry? And if we were you and what you've done be enough, would our reactions be as hard on you as yours are on us? How many more marches will it take? How many more days like this until we break? And if you were us, how much more could you bear? How many I can't breathe before you care? Eleanor Bumpers and Margaret Mitchell, Alberta Sproul and Katherine Johnson, Walter Scott and Joseph Mann, Ollie Brooks and James Allen, Gregory Gunn and Charles Goodrich, Fred Barlow and Dennis Hudson, Mary Truxillo and Deborah Danner, Betty Jones and Pearlie Golden. How many times must my people ask why? How many times must we watch another mother cry? And if we were you, would what you've done be enough? Would our reactions be as hard on you as yours are on us? How many more marches will it take? How many more days like this until we break? And if you were us, how much more could you bear? How many I can't breathe before you care?
How many indeed?
Yes. Very powerful song. And that was a good example also that's really a demo, as you can probably hear. It sounds great, but it's not a yet commercially released. And that's one of the things that we like to try to include is these songs that are so fresh and new that they haven't had time to be taken to the studio.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Being able to get them immediately is so amazing. And we have another one like that later in the show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and it was really a pleasure to get to talk with Chris Matthews, and I'm sure that we will have her on the future episodes as well.
Yes, we will. Up next, we have an interview with songwriter and singer Tom Nielson.
Yeah, we actually did this a while ago, but we're finally getting to air a part of it where he talks about his song that relates to these topics of Black Lives Matter issues. The song that he's going to perform actually live in the studio with us is called Mistaken Identity.
So you've traveled all over the world and met so many different types of people. How has that changed your worldview or shaped who you are as an artist or songwriter?
in every way. I breathed the same air as everyone else where I grew up, and that was an air of entitlement that I didn't see as entitlement, of white supremacy, although I would never have looked at myself as a white supremacy because my teachings were very strong of equality from my mom. And there were very specific situations growing up where she clearly taught me about segregation and that we were all equal and no one was better than anyone else. But I didn't understand whiteness. I didn't understand what it meant to be a male. Men don't have to. White people don't have to because
That's privilege.
That's privilege, right? Yeah. But leaving the States, because again, in the community I grew up, it was all white. And leaving the States was, suddenly it was in my face. And looking at how pigmentation stratified Colombian society and realized, hey, that's the United States.
So you're saying, just to clarify that, when you were in Colombia, you're saying that I guess the more Spanish-looking Colombians had or considered better than the indigenous people?
There, you have the European people who will talk about their European ancestry and their whiteness, and definitely with every much bit of entitlement, as you will hear some white people talk about it here. And then there are the degrees of coloration in the skin with all the genetic mixing of coloration that is in our, in our makeups, and to where the skin gets darker and darker and darker and darker, and you have your indigenous populations, and then you have your black community that originated from the slave ships that either they mutinied and took them over, or they crashed. And along the coast in the Chocó area and in the coast of Ecuador and in Peru, you have these black communities. And so with all the mixing, there's definitely white is right, white is pretty. My landlady, when I would be out in my garden, and if I didn't have my shirt on, she would say, "Tomas, you have such nice white skin. You don't want to darken it." And I found that in among the Chocoano populations, and even among the darker skinned friends that I had. Sometimes it was, they would identify themselves as being, that lighter was prettier. And so that's the insipidness of, the legacy of enslavement, and what it does to everyone's mind. It's not to say I wouldn't have dealt with it at some point in my life. Leaving the country and being in the midst of it and watching how other people were moving through it helped me think, look at where we are in the States. And going to Florida with my mom when I was 8 years old, and for the first time seeing all these, black people can't go here. And it wasn't called black people, coloreds here. And that was the first time I ever really heard the word. And my mom told me, you don't use that word. It's not a nice word, and you don't use it, and that's all we really have to say about it. And she explained segregation, and that it's not right, it's wrong, and that's all I needed to know. And that was for my 8-year-old understanding of that. But there were other things that happened along the way as a child that still were imprinted, and my mom was always very reinforcing with those inherent values of equality, that doesn't matter if someone has a lot of money, they're not better than you, and whatever you believe in with religion, she says the stupidest wars are the ones over what someone's God is. And so that was firmly implanted. But I think it's a life struggle to understand how it all plays out. It's not like I ever get it, because that was rude, that was implanted, and then it's my job for the rest of my life to see how it all plays out in the different situations.
So maybe you could share one of your songs about how you worked on processing that, or particularly around songs that deal with race and.
I have a few of those.
Yeah.
There's sometimes people ask me, what's the impetus to write a song? And I say, well, a lot of it is, hypocrisy, or a lie, or absurdity, or anger, or sometimes when it's at a point where I can't not write the song. I don't care what it sounds like. And, the violence in this country, I don't need to say anything about that, because we all, I hope, anyone listening to this show is aware of the repeated violence in this country. And one of the things we often hear is it was mistaken identity. Whoops, that's okay, because I thought it was someone else. Gee, I wouldn't have done it if I'd known, if I'd been paying attention. So I have some different songs, but one of them that I just sat down and it just flowed out when I heard about it. And this is 2 or 3 things that happened at the same time with black people getting shot. And Bakersfield, the Bakersfield police said it was a mistaken identity. And when you hear the song as to who they mistook one for the other, it was the kind of mistake any cop could make, looking for adult black male. 30 years old, about 6 feet tall, or anything to scale. So a teen would do, 5 feet 2, draw down on her and check ID. Bakersfield police said it's just a case of mistaken identity. His head was bald and hers in a braid, and he wore a goatee, while she was clean shaven and riding her bike. Mistaken identity. She was in shorts, he was wearing gray pants or blue jeans and carrying a 12-inch blade. But close enough, 'cause the skin he was in was a similar shade. Attacked by police at the point of a gun, punched in the mouth maybe just for fun. Puncture bites from a canine dog. She was charged with assault in the police log. She said he grabbed her wrist, then he grabbed her neck, then he threw her to the ground. Put his knee in her back, pushed her head in the pavement, and handcuffed she was bound. Tied her feet together, threw her in the car. Cuts and bruises on her head. Good thing she wasn't home wearing pajamas. They might have shot her dead. She was armed with a personal weapon. Her hands, her feet, and teeth. So a canine was chewing on her leg while her head was underneath the knee of a cop, so they charged her with a felony. How can you be safe in the street and home with mistaken identity? How can you be safe in the street and home with mistaken identity?
It's a powerful song.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's interesting to think about that. Like, I think you said this another time that that is a kind of satire, but obviously not the funny kind.
Yeah, the irony of it. Bald head and braided child. 6 feet tall, 5 feet 2.
Definitely points out the craziness of that. Yeah.
All right, so that was our excerpt from our interview and in-studio performance with Tom Nielson. And actually, people who are supporters of our work on Patreon can hear that full interview and a bunch of other songs that were performed live from Tom. And eventually we'll make that available to everybody, but those supporters get a advanced access
to the full interview.
Yes.
Very powerful, very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Song. Up next, as we were talking about before, the ability for people to put songs out and distribute them is something that can be done in a way that it's never been done before. And there's a young kid, Keedron Bryant, who put out a plea, and it's been pretty amazing to see how many musicians step forward to honor and support him in his plea. And he just wants to live. And so what you're going to hear is a little mashup I did of a number of different versions of the song "I Just Want to Live," which he posted an a cappella version. That is, Keedron posted a cappella version of the song online, and many musicians added music to it. So here is a little mashup, a little 2-minute mashup of some of the versions that you can find online of this self-produced plea to just want to live.
Yeah, from a 12-year-old. It's pretty amazing, and it is very passionate. And I think we'll go right from that into maybe a couple other songs. There's a beautiful song called Michael Brown by Rick Burkhardt that Jenny and I did a little demo of. So again, not a professional recording. And Jon Fromer has this great song, Another Black Man Gone. So we'll hear all three of those in a row, starting with Keedron Bryant.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind every day, I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind every day, I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind every day, I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
The moment you step in a street, you've stepped in before. The moment the squad car opens its door, the moment your hands go up in the air and you go down, a moment of silence for Michael Brown. The moment you first tell your kids to look out for the cops, the moment the cops all show up dressed like Gestapo, the moment it looks like the war overseas, but it's your hometown, a moment of silence for Michael Brown. The moment the anchorman calls you a thug and forgets to frown, the it lying down. A moment of silence for Michael Brown. A moment of silence for Michael Brown.
Another black man gone. Another black man gone. Another black man gone to the county jail. Another black man gone. Another mother's son. Another mother's son. Another mother's son. Doing time. Another mother's son. Another innocent man. Another innocent man. Another innocent man on death row. Another innocent man. Another brown man gone. Another brown man gone. Another brown man gone for just being here. Another brown man gone. Another poor man. Another poor man. Another poor man trying to get by. Another poor man. Another prison wall. Another prison wall. Another prison wall that's got to fall. Another prison wall. Another black man gone. Another black man gone. Another brown man. Another poor man. Another black man gone.
That was Jon Fromer, the late, great Jon Fromer, with Another Black Man Gone.
Great song.
Yeah.
And you guys did a wonderful job of Michael Brown. I remember when you brought that song to me when we were doing a Unitarian service on MLK's birthday, and that song is so amazing.
I
and
agree.
Powerful.
I think it's very powerful. Yeah. Well, maybe sometime we'll make an actual recording of it. I'm looking forward to actually Rick Burkhardt, who wrote that, who used to be in this great duo called the Prince Mishkins. And he is apparently going to release that at some point in the future. And I look forward to that because he's really amazing.
Yes. And then before that was Keedron Bryant with I Just Want to Live.
Yeah. That kid's going to go places, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Yes. Yes,
it's nice
he-
to hear
he
what
will.
you. Yeah, and Rodney, you're the one who did that mashup, so we should give credit to you for
Oh,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, a little bit of a editing there.
Right. So I'm curious, Rodney, how you're
Mhm.
feeling. There's a lot of things to be depressed by and upset by, and also, I mean, the level of engagement right now,
Mhm.
in spite of the, COVID-19 situation. I mean, there's just been massive, massive protests and all over the country and all over the world. And, one of the things that I've found kind of heartening is to see that there's quite a few places that are relatively small, relatively rural, and almost entirely white where they've had Black Lives Matter protests.
Yes.
And
I
it's kind of incredible.
think we're in the midst of a major world revolution. I think that it's I think that coupled with the fact that everybody's out of work from COVID is allowing people to actually focus on this in a way that has never happened before around the world. I and it is very hopeful to see all the young people of many different races and backgrounds all coming together and saying that their world going forward, this is not acceptable.
Yeah, and also not just participating, but I think a lot of these protests have been organized and led by young people.
Yeah.
And so it does feel like I mean, it's certainly not the first time. There have been many times in recent years. The Occupy movement was very much centered around young people, and but I felt like there's a kind of a passing of the torch here happening, and it's not that older people aren't involved, but I feel like the energy has come largely from younger people, and that may also be somewhat affected by the health situation because younger people are not quite as vulnerable, although they may think they're less vulnerable than they really are to this disease.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in our COVID show.
Right. But I do think that's probably affected. I mean, I knew so many people who are usually on the front lines of protests who are like, it's my kids who are out there, it's my grandkids who are out there, and part of that feels like, yeah, we should all be there. But I also felt like there was an appropriate move in that direction, that they're really taking leadership.
Yeah. I think one of the things too that's really hopeful about the movement is it seems like there are some clear goals or demands that they have. I think with the movement that you mentioned earlier, it wasn't quite clear what they wanted. I know that they were marching about the economic injustice, but it wasn't clear what the solution was, and it seemed very fragmented. In this case, it seems like everybody is unified and wanting. I mean, there's a couple of different solutions, but they want the same thing, and it's very clear that we want. That everybody wants to have Black Lives Matter,
Right,
and an end to the Rizzo invention of law and order policing. And for those of you who know who Rizzo is, he's the mayor of Philadelphia,
and before that, police chief, and
before that,
horrible,
police chief,
horrible
and
person.
is the father of modern day policing. Here in the city of brotherly love is where it was created.
Yeah, and people may have been hearing about it in a lot of the statues coming down, and one of the earlier statues to come down was here in Philadelphia, the statue of Rizzo, and I, for one, was very glad to see that because Rizzo was a really horrible figure in the history of this city, really the Mussolini of Philadelphia in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And the things that happened later with the move bombing, really, I think you can say the seeds for that anger between the police and the black community really were started by him in many ways.
Yeah. I've often thought that even though MOVE was about a good 5 or 7 years later after Rizzo failed in becoming mayor for life because there was a a newspaper that no longer exists, the Bulletin, broke the story of the brutality of the Philadelphia Police Department at the roundhouse, and it actually is a roundhouse, which led to Rizzo ineffectively being able to change the charter where he could be mayor for life. And but I still felt like even though he hadn't been mayor for a good maybe 6 or 7 years, it still was his police department.
Right.
When they bombed Move.
Right. And the animosity that he had built up, was very much still alive. So yeah. And so that is another issue that maybe we should save for a whole nother episode. But the issue, which is obviously very much intertwined with Black Lives Matter, is the what to do about the systemic problems within the police. And I know you were just saying a moment ago that you feel like everybody wants the same thing, but I think this is a place where we may be seeing some splintering a little bit about the defund the police phrase, and I see well-meaning people who are very ready to try to attack that and say no, don't say that, it's gonna divide us. But I think when you look at the actual arguments behind the defund the police phrase, they really make a lot of sense. And I love the thing recently, AOC responded to somebody like, well, what would it look like if we did this? And did you see that response to Rodney?
No, I did not.
It was pretty cool. She basically said, well, it would kind of look like what it looks like in the white suburbs right now. It's not that there aren't police, but generally what her claim, and I think there's a lot of credence to it, is that in the white suburbs, basically people try to avoid having the police solve the problems that can be solved in many other ways. So, for instance, if a teenager gets in trouble, they're more likely to get community service than either thrown in prison or killed for, whatever minor infraction the teenager did. And so the idea is we try to help people move on with their lives. You hear those phrases often with people of privilege, like when they've done something wrong. Well, we don't want to destroy their future, right?
Well, one other thing I could, as someone who lives, I guess, in full disclosure, in a predominantly white suburb, one of the things that I can say is that, and it seems this is the case with everybody, and it's not a small suburb, it's a fairly large suburb, but we all know the police. I actually have given some of them guitar lessons.
Right.
And I see them when I'm out in the supermarket, and because of the interesting location of where my house is and where I live, I end up being the staging area whenever anything happens in the immediate neighborhood. There's really no sidewalks or places to park where I am. It truly is a suburban community in that there are really no sidewalks, no places to park, and driveways are a little distant. And what happens, because I have a commercial front where my recording studio is, I have a commercial parking lot, and I'm at the base of a hill. All the police and firefighters all park here when there's something happens, whether it's a fire around the corner or a car accident or something like that. And so I've gotten to know them all. So even when I'm out walking around, they will, hey, how's music going? And I say that is because they've taken the time to get to know me as a person. And I can say when I lived in South Philly, or in a more, I'll say, like in a poor neighborhood, or like when I was in Germantown section of Philly, that didn't happen.
Right.
It was a very, very different relationship. And I'm the same person,
Right.
but the relationship to the community and to me was very different.
Yeah. Well, and that idea of community policing, and I've been learning recently about what happened in Camden, New Jersey, where a number of years ago they really did pretty much disband what they had and start over in many, many ways. And when you looked at the responses to the protests recently in Philadelphia compared to Camden, Philadelphia, the police really attacked the protesters. A lot of people were blaming the protesters for being violent, but really it was the police in many cases who were the ones who were either the ones who were violent or at least the ones who initiated the violence. And that was definitely seemed to be true from all the people I know that were at things in Philadelphia. Whereas in Camden, they marched with the protesters. The police actually joined the protest. And that, I think was a direct relation to the way that they had restructured their force entirely. So there's a lot of interesting ideas.
They got to know them.
Right.
Real quick, when I was over in England, I was talking to a relative of my girlfriend, and he's a retired police officer, and he was talking about that's all they do in England because they don't have guns, and and I shouldn't say all they do. He was a big proponent of it, and he initiated it in the area of the police that he worked in London, and he made it a point to get to know the people in the community. And I think one of the biggest problems in our country, one of the things that's so hopeful about young people is they do know each other. Like they've all grown up together. There's it is so hopeful when you see the fact that there are young people who are transgender and young people that are of different races, and they're all friends, and they all and in ways that didn't happen when we were younger, David.
I totally
agree.
Support
each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, our sons and their friends, it is a very different kind of a situation, and it does give us hope, I think, for the future. So maybe on that hopeful note, we should move to our last interview segment and song, and we will, of course, talk about these issues further because there's so much more to talk about. There's so much more music, so much more great music being created every day. But we did have the opportunity to interview another person, Devin Marie. Actually, my wife, Jenny, alerted me to this incredible, powerful song that she did called I Can't Breathe. And she was willing to do an interview with us. She's on Long Island, and we had a really nice time talking with her.
Yes. So here's our interview with Devin Marie, and I'll say thank you for all listening to this episode of Music for the New Revolution.
Welcome, Devin. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So your song, how did you consciously think of it as writing a political song or a social justice song? Have you written anything like that before? And as you were writing it, what was going through your mind?
So George Floyd 100% set up I Can't Breathe for me, but I had been wanting to write a song similar to I Can't Breathe, just based off of the fact that it's not new. This has just been going on for too long. And so that was always like something on the side that I would always try to mess around and see if there was something that came to me, but I also never wanted to force it. And so because it never really came, I never really worked on it. But that night we were sitting and eating dinner, and most of my song ideas come to me very randomly or at weird times. And we were sitting eating dinner, and I think for me, just sitting across from my brother and just knowing all that's been happening, and my brother's the kindest, most gentle soul you'll ever meet in your life. So to be sitting there and hearing the news and just knowing all it takes is one person that doesn't know him made it incredibly hard for me. And I deal with my emotions by going to music. And so as I was sitting there, I just kept hearing like in my head, like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And so I just came upstairs and I started just writing, and I Can't Breathe came from that. But when it happened, I wasn't intending to write a whole song. I wasn't intending to write a whole, or for any of this to have come about from it. It was more of just me dealing with my emotions at the time. And that's really where it came from.
That really is, like that idea. And you mentioned before about, studying to be a music therapist. It's like music was your therapy in this traumatic instant, and like you said, obviously the trauma's been going on and on and on. This isn't the only time. But you found a really powerful way to channel your feelings into something that is really effective and makes other people feel it, so I think you did a great job with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you feeling about the response that the video and the song's getting?
I'm still processing. Because like I said, it was something I did for myself. And after writing it and reading the words hit me almost as if I didn't write it. And seeing that, I was like, I feel like this could possibly help and resonate with other people. So I posted it on Instagram. And I just left it there. Like, I thought it was just going to be something that I posted that would probably do pretty well and people would share it with each other maybe. And then all of a sudden my phone was blowing up like, please post this anywhere else you can. Like, people need to hear this. And so I was like, okay. And so like I posted it on Facebook, and like within 24 hours, it was at like 10,000 views and being shared everywhere. And I've had parents emailing me saying, hi, like I've been playing your song for my kid to help facilitate a conversation about what's happening, and help them better understand. And knowing that that is possible just because of something that I wrote means the world, because that's really why I wanted to write songs, was to be able to give a voice to people that feel that they don't have one. So to be able to help facilitate these conversations and to have people be able to stop and listen and reflect and apologize and realize I didn't understand what you guys were going through. I didn't realize how bad it truly was. And for that, I am sorry. And for people to just be able to acknowledge that in itself is just more than I could have asked for from this. So right now, this is more my focus right now, is because it's getting such a response, I want to be able to respond to people and not just let it fall off. Like, if they want to have a conversation about it, I want to be able to have that conversation because it's important. And the fact that people are willing to have that conversation now is something that we shouldn't just ignore.
Are you making it it's available right now on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram? Are you going to release it so that it's on that people can just get the audio somewhere?
Yeah, it's actually in my bios on Instagram, and I have a fundraiser that's happening on Facebook right now, because so many people had been asking me to put it on Spotify and iTunes, and I also had so many people asking to Venmo me and give me money to support my career. And in light of everything that was happening, I figured, why not try to do both? And so I put it up for sale. It's not on regular streaming sites like Spotify and or iTunes. But people are able to purchase it for $1, and I'm donating all that money to various organizations that need it the most right now. And so I've been asking people, especially the people that have been reaching out and responding to the song, what organizations near them need help, because although I'm trying to research all that I can, I'm really more just aware of what's happening around me and near my bubble, and knowing the causes that are most important to me. So to be able to help out people in states that I'm not really aware of what's going on there, I want to be able to help where I can with all of this.
Awesome.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we will put the link about how people can download the song when we put this, podcast up, so that people can find you and find that wonderful song.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. This was great.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
I'm tired of living in the skin I'm in. I didn't know danger was synonymous with melanin. I go for jogs but never ask my brother to come, 'cause God forbid anybody sees a black man run. I'm getting tired of pleading the case of men who can't speak out with a gun in their face, or of boys who shop at convenience stores whose only crime was having skin that was different than yours. What will it take to make you see the only difference between you and me is people listen when you speak, so listen carefully. I can't breathe, we can't breathe, I can't breathe, we can't breathe. It's hard living in a world where it's fine to call the cops on him for no reason or rhyme, or because he didn't have a permit to sell his water. All our sons and daughters are dying before they get the chance to reach for their dreams. But when we reach for Skittles or our wallets, somebody screams. And when we try to explain what we're
You've been listening to Music for the New Revolution. I'm Rodney Wittenberg.
I'm David Heitler-Clevens.
Music for the New Revolution is produced at Melody Vision Recording Studios in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. Music for the New Revolution is written and produced by David Heitler-Clevens and Rodney Wittenberg.
And edited and co-produced by Ben Flax.
You can find us at musicforthenewrevolution.com or MFTNR. Like us on Facebook and follow our Spotify playlist.
And our podcasts can be found on SoundCloud and iTunes, and you can also be a patron, a supporter of our podcast on Patreon.
This is Music for the New Revolution.
Spend it all today and we will bill you tomorrow. 3-piece suits and bank accounts in Bahamas. Wall Street crime will never send you to the slammer. Tell all the children in the arms of the mamas. The F-15 is a homicide bomber. TV commercial for a pop pill culture. Drug companies circling like a vulture. Ameraki babies with the G.I. Joe father. 10 years from now is any